Let's talk a little about HTTP response headers when we use the Fetch API. A lot of this information is not immediately visible, but when we use Fetch, a request is sent to a server. Then we receive a response. We may get what we are looking for, we may get a blank page, or an error message. It is worth mentioning that response headers contain helpful information that includes security-related data. The headers also contain information about the files and formats of files received in the request. More details on that shortly. To start, we have our basic HTML page with a header, h1 and p tags, a body and main area to display the content. We also have a script tag referencing our JavaScript code to retrieve data. We will soon be looking at developer tools for a look at responses to our request. Let's look at how it works. We have a JavaScript file with some code to get us started. There is a variable identifying the server location where we will get some sample data, along with another variable to identify the div tag with ID my data, where the retrieved data will be listed. To get data, we must first pass the API URL variable to fetch and use the then method and pass the response into a function. We also add a comment to remind us of what this section is for. Now we add an if statement to check if the response comes back okay, return in JSON format. Next, we add another then method where we pass the data into the function. This function will be used to display the HTML. Another comment is placed as a reminder. Create a variable that will hold the selected data and create a for loop to go through the data to select each item. For each item, we will have the loop create a list element. Next, we take the list item and have the contents of the array fill in from the appropriate data source. Append each list item to the variable that will list the data. After the first part of the code is run, we use an else statement in case there is an error. For now, we will place an alert with the error and a note mentioning something went wrong. After our then method, we add a catch and pass any error that may occur. It may seem redundant, but this alert is in case something happens where all of the then methods fail to execute altogether. Let's go to our browser and take a look. Open Developer Tools with Command-Option-J on Mac, Control-Shift-J on Windows. Open the Network tab where we monitor requests that are made by the app. Most of the time, there will be a lot of files listed. In our case, we have a short list. Let's just select script.js. As we can see, under the Header tab, we receive response headers containing information about the files and formats in the files received in the request. The General section contains information about the request URL and request method. One thing to note is the status code. It is currently 200 with equivalent text OK, meaning the request was successful. We'll see another code in a few moments. There is also information telling about connection, content type, and date. Now let's look at search.php to see information made by the fetch statement. Notice both the request URL and content type are different than they were, as well as the information below. Also, even though some information remains, like date, there are other entries that are added. Among them are server and xpowered by. Let's take a look at the index file to show its header information. As mentioned earlier, we have a status code that can change. It was 200, but now is 304. This may not have been covered yet, but this is one code that indicates this file was loaded from cached files. This here was cached because there were several requests with these files made leading up to this demonstration. Other codes could appear, like the ever-popular 404, where a page does not exist, or 500 indicating a server error. But in our case, a connection was made, we received our response, and data is displayed. As mentioned, using Fetch API, we receive response headers containing information about the files and formats in the files received in the request. Remember to explore these and other headers to see what they are all about. Thank you for watching.